there, everybody, and today I'm here to review Bat and Belfry, whatever you want to call it, for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So this is basically a Batman and Robin crossover. I mean, this is where we get introduced to the characters Wingnut and Screwlose, characters from the 80s show, and it all starts with the Turtles reading comic books, which are just parodies of other superheroes. And it's cool that they actually use iconic, like, comic book covers. Like, for example, Raph is reading the Fantastic Food Groups, which is, I think, the first issue of the Fantastic Four. And they made, like, a parody of it where, like, the Fantastic Four are, like, food-themed characters. I think Leo is reading, like, a Hulk parody comic and an iconic issue of Spider-Man. And they basically made their own version of it. But the one comic that Mikey loves reading is Wingnut and Screwlose, and it looks like a cover for the Batman and Robin from the vintage era. So yeah, that's like a nice tribute to those comics back in the day. But the real plot, what's going on, is like April is getting a lot of psychic visions from her crystal all the way back in her space missions. And Donnie's not getting any real readings, but Mikey's suspecting it's that crystal. And it's taking a turn on April, like she's starting to behave a certain way. But when Donnie uses his staff from space to test the crystal, a cosmic being comes out of the crystal, and it leads to out somewhere, and it's revealed that a giant eyeball has come to life, and Mikey suspects it's from his comic because that eye was literally disappears, and now it's in New York City attacking New York. And so the Turtles are thinking it's absurd that possibly happened, so they go see it for themselves. But I think they do fight the eye. And I think April destroys it with her crystal, since she's learning to harness it. But while Casey Jones later is bored, he decides to go hang out with Mikey. And Mikey is getting bored because he wants to use the crystal, because he thinks the crystal is what brought it to life. And so he's ready to show Casey what has happened. So I think he takes his comic, he snatches the crystal, and even replaces it with one of his action figures. And he uses the crystal out of nowhere, and it literally brings Wingnut and Screwlose to life. So yeah, they are a parody of Batman and Robin. And it's kind of like a parody of like the 60s Batman show. They even say lines similar to the 60s Batman. And they even have Screwlose say "holy," like how Robin used to say it in the 60s. And you probably be surprised that I know all these references, but like I know my Batman. They even do the whole Batman uses his grappling hook to walk on walls. Like, you know what I'm talking about it if you know the 60s show. But these two are surprised that they are on Earth. And they first think Mikey is a threat because apparently they have a villain named Tortoise Man who looks like Mikey. And they end up fighting him. And they end up trying to unmask him, literally. And Mikey's like, ah! But then they reveal that, they aren't the bad guys. And then they try to reveal that they are comic book characters, but they're not convinced. But Mikey puts on his Triflido costume, and that's where they come in, and they do their little thing where they all team up and defeat various bad guys, very Batman 60s style. But things take a turn when they meet with one of their enemies that has come to life out of nowhere. I think his name is Skullarak. He kind of just looks like the villain from Masters of the Universe. But I think they managed to stop him when he's trying to rob a bank. And now Mikey's getting not really concerned too much of what the crystal has done, in case he thinks it may have gone too far. But once Wingnut and Screwlose learn of the crystal, They are fascinated by it. And they literally touch it, and they take it from Mikey and Casey. They even knock him out. And it causes them to mutate and look completely different. But Mikey and Casey end up trying to chase the two, and they even use the crystal to turn their I think an abandoned church, to turn it into their lair, or a bat cave, whatever you want to call it. But they try to call the turtles in April, and April's just furious about that Mikey has her crystal. That even Master Splinter has to call her out, that it's becoming a crutch for her. And we can tell because April's starting to act more aggressive because of her crystal. So yeah, it's going to be relevant later in this season where the crystal does become a threat. But I don't want to spoil it. But Wingnut and Screwlose are plotting their next move with the crystal as they are corrupted by it. And Mikey and Casey sneak in. And it's literally like a bat cave. We even see like a giant penny, a giant squirrel as a trophy. Let's say like Batman has a giant T-Rex. They even have a vault full of costumes, which is cool. So yeah, I'm not trying to nitpick and say like, oh, this is just a parody of Batman, because it is, but like, I like it. That's what I like about this episode. It's like, it's poking fun at the whole Batman mythos. They even, before they even transformed, Mikey even references their origins, which is exactly like Batman and Robin, where Wingnut loses his parents in space, and Screwlose loses his parents through an acrobat circus. So yeah, it's literally referencing Dick Grayson's origin when he became Robin. But yeah, the turtles get their gear on. They use the hook things they used a few episodes ago. So yeah, that's going to be coming handy when they used it last in the Fly episode. And I think they use it to take down and get into like a huge goose chase with Wingnut and Screwlose, and they're like falling, jumping on various parts of the building. And April's furious, and she does get her crystal back, and she's immediately clutched to it. And I do like the line earlier where Mikey was like saying, "Ooh, that's her precious," like referencing Gollum. But I do also like the line where Leo says, like, "Wingnut, you used to be a hero." And then Wingnut's like, "I still am." And the two fight. But after April gets her crystal back, she's able to turn everyone back to normal. But Screwlose is, like, saying how he doesn't want to go back in because he feels it'll just be them going back into a page. But Wingnut's like, no, we're going back where we belong. And he's right. And he apologizes for his actions. And he is sent home. But it ends with April staring deeply into her crystal as Donnie asks that they still need a test on it. But that's the episode. So yeah, this was a very fun episode. It was just a nice change of pace from what usually happens in the show. From the main story. People could probably say this episode's a filler episode, but nah, it's just one of those fun episodes. And it's like a nice homage to like the 60s Batman and the various comic books. And even Raphael mentions how the Fantastic Four food group is better than Wingnut and Screwlose. But yeah, Wingnut and Screwlose were definitely fun characters. I did not see the episode they were in the 80s show. I just knew they were in the show. And Wingnut was actually in Mutant Mayhem, but it was I think they changed it to a girl, which was fine. But yeah, Wingnut was interesting. I even got her action figure from Mutant Mayhem, which is cool. But yeah, this was an interesting episode. So I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. It was fun. 8, maybe an 8. 1 out of 8. But the next episode I'm super excited to talk about. It's something to do with the Shredder. That's your little teaser if you watch this video. But anyway, thanks for watching, and Turtle Power.